Hello and thanks for joining me. It's about 7:45 in the morning and I'm heading up from Newcastle to the border with Scotland. I'm off on a 5-day trip on my bike to visit the 3 highest pubs in Britain. So today I'm heading into Scotland, where I'm going to visit the highest pub in Scotland, and then I'm going to drop back down into England where I'll visit the highest pub in England, and then I'm heading down into North Wales where I will visit the highest pub in Wales. Now, I'm taking 5 days over this trip so I can enjoy it, do lots of detours, have a leisurely ride. The total trip's only about 1,000 miles, but spreading it over 5 days means it should hopefully be a pleasant and leisurely trip. So tag along with me, let's see how we get on. So you can see I've got my sat-nav on the bike because I've spent some time carefully plotting out a route, because these next few days are not just about visiting the 3 highest pubs in Britain, it's also about riding what in my opinion are some of the nicest roads in Britain as well. And so I'm going to be revisiting some places as well that I've not been to for a while, places that I've lived in the past, so I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of nostalgia on this trip. And also going to be trying to stay off the beaten track to a large extent as well. It's bank holiday weekend here, so it does get busy on the roads in the UK in bank holiday. Particularly some of the places where I'm going are favourites for bikers, so there's likely to be a lot of bikers around, and whereas I've got no objection to that, if you watch my videos you know that I do like to stay off the beaten track and on quieter back roads. So I've put myself a route together with a real mixture of stuff, including trying out this bike on some, well, not exactly green lanes, but some really kind of rough back roads and stuff, as well as some of the nice mountain passes. So I'm really looking forward to the riding over the next few days. Just at the moment I'm riding on the A696 north out of Newcastle, so this is Northumberland, and riding up through Northumberland, and I'm riding up to the Scottish border where I will cross over into Scotland, a place called Carter Bar, which is, in my mind, it's the nicest route from England into Scotland. Takes you over a mountain range and the border is right on the summit there, as you will see when we get there. I used to live up here just across the border on the Scottish side, and so this ride was a regular commute for me, and even though I've ridden it hundreds of times, I never bore of it. Such a lovely route. As I said, I'm on the 696 and I'm just about to join the A68 now, where they merge and then head north up towards Jedburgh. And here we are, just coming up to the A68, which, although we're joining it, interestingly, this junction, we have priority. So that's the junction there, and so I'm now on the A68, which will take me up to the Scottish border. Hey ho, lovely morning. It's a bit cloudy and overcast, but it's nice and warm and clear. Just come into a little town called Rochester, and you'll see coming up on the right hand side here there's a little cafe with a sign on it. Says the last cafe in England. Used to stop off regularly there. They do a really nice sausage sandwich. I see the place is up for sale, so I hope somebody else takes it on. It's a great stopover, is that. You can possibly see a lot of forestry up ahead of me here, and stretching off to my left, this is the edge of Kielder Forest, which is a huge area, obviously forested area here, but it's also an area of natural darkness. There's an observatory there because it's supposed to be one of the least light polluted areas in the whole UK is this. So I've been to the observatory a couple of times, and they've got a couple of great telescopes there. It's worth a visit. As you see, I'm really climbing here now, and we are getting fairly close to the summit where there's the border between England and Scotland. So it's called Carter Bar is this, and I'll pull over at the top
do the obligatory photograph on the border as I cross over into Scotland. You can see the cloud's quite low. I suspect I may well be riding in some low cloud later today unless this burns off, and it doesn't look like it's going to burn off. And here we are, this is the summit, so I'll just pull in here. Welcome to Scotland! Oh, there's nobody around, just pull in here. In case you're wondering, yes, it does say England on the other side of that stone. Yeah, so many people have their photographs here. Right, we're off again, and we're going to turn off here. Rather than carrying on to Jedburgh, I'm taking this turning, which takes me down to Hawick. I used to live down here. I mentioned earlier I used to live down here, so we're just going to pass through a place where I used to live. And I think I'll pull in there because there is something very interesting to show you. Might surprise you. Right, here we are. This is a little village called South Tyne. This is the village hall where I have spent many hours. And this is what I want to show you, this memorial over here. So this is a little memorial to Steve Hislop, who was born here. I'll just get in a little bit closer so you can read this. I didn't move here until after Steve Hislop had died, but it says here, Steve Hislop, motorcycle racing champion and Isle of Man legend, born and raised here in South Tyne. So I bet you didn't know this was here. Yes, nice little tribute to the man. Lovely. Right, we're on the road again and heading down into Hawick, the border market town of Hawick. And again, I say I used to live here. I used to live just a couple of miles from South Tyne, where I stopped off just there. And so this was a very familiar road. I do like this ride here. It's quite a twisty ride through the woods here, but you can come a cropper if you're not careful. So here we are, just pulling into Hawick. If you're not British, it's written Hawick. Now, just coming up on my right here, you can see there's a horse statue. It's quite a famous statue there to the border reivers. This area, this borders area, is between England and Scotland, was a sort of the wild west of the UK back in the day, and there were lots of horse rustlers and carryings on like that. So Hawick, you can tell from some of the architecture here, used to be a very prosperous border town. I mean, look at that clock tower ahead, but sadly these days it's a bit grim and run down, is Hawick. No disrespect to the place or the residents, but it's just a fact, it is. I'm on my way out of Hawick now. I very briefly picked up the A7 south to just on the outskirts of Hawick, and then took this little mountain road, which really is a little mountain road. Twists and turns through the mountains here, takes me up to St Mary's Loch. This, I shouldn't be telling you about this road because you see it's nice and quiet, but it's a real gem of a ride is this bike. And if you ever fancy riding up to St Mary's Loch, this is definitely the route to take. It is an awesome ride. But as I said earlier, looks like I'm going to ride up into the cloud up here. This cloud's not burning off at all. It doesn't look like it's going to rain, but it's not burning off at all. So yeah, going to be a bit misty as I get higher. What did I say? Look at that, we're right in the cloud now, riding through the cloud. This is not rain or fog, it's just low cloud. But it's still beautiful. I just think this is so atmospheric. This is Scotland to me. This is what Scotland's like, this kind of atmospheric moorland with the low cloud like this. I absolutely love it. And as I said, it's not cold, so it's pleasant riding. You can tell this is the kind of riding which I love. This is just, for me, I don't know, there's just something about this kind of British landscape, this open moorland, which has an eerie beauty to it. Dropping down into the next valley here, you can see more trees, things, and there's the river on my left there. But it's still all just sheep land round here. It's none of this is any good for anything other than just sheep. And climbing up again through the next valley. It's cleared up again now, out of that cloud, so much nicer visibility. Right, starting to drop down again now, getting quite close to St Mary's Loch. But this is such a beautiful ride, this road. I love it. So I hope you're enjoying the scenery as much as I am. I'm purposefully recording quite a lot of footage of, you know, on the road, because this is what it's about, isn't it? Riding through this kind of landscape. And here we are. This is St Mary's Loch on my left here. So we'll see if there are many people around. It's a very popular destination, is this, but I say it's the bank holiday weekend, but it's only Thursday today, so a lot of people will still be at work. Well, it's actually pretty quiet here, I'm pleased to say. Very quiet and peaceful. Just show you around because it's really beautiful here. Right, heading north again now, but I'm just going to stop on this corner just to show you this little phone box here. You can see this phone box, this black phone box. That is an old AA phone box. You don't see many of them around these days. They're now, obviously, because everybody's got mobile phones. But it used to be the case, if you were in the AA, you got a key for one of these, and you could, you know, stop music to call breakdown recovery if you broke down. Remember, I used to have a key in my bag. Another beautiful road here up through a couple of valleys, but what's happened up here, as you'll see, is they've flooded a couple of these valleys up here to make a couple of quite large reservoirs. So I'm heading up towards the River Tweed, to Tweedsmuir, and we're going to pass a couple of reservoirs up here. The first one is Megget Reservoir, and the second one is Tala Reservoir. Another gem is this. Just such a beautiful, beautiful place. As I said, this is not a natural lake, this is a reservoir. But still, very, very beautiful. Heading over into the next valley now, towards the next reservoir, which is Tala Reservoir. And again, up on this open moorland again. Love it. Just me and the sheep up here. And this is Tala Reservoir ahead. You can see I've got to drop down quite steeply into the valley here, and then the road just runs up the right hand side of the reservoir there, all the way to the top. And then if I remember rightly, the road cuts across the dam wall at the top of the reservoir. Beautiful ride. Just look at that view. Stunning, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. And again, I got the place to myself. Well, I'm on the A701 now, which runs north from Moffat, so I've just joined this road and I'm heading north. I'm going to head towards Biggar. I think that'd be a good place to stop off for some fuel and possibly some lunch as well. But even though this is a main road, it's still quite quiet. I've just turned off the 701 now. I'm cutting down this little narrow road which takes me through to Biggar, basically cutting off the corner, and it's a nice quiet little single track road is this. Lovely. You know, the landscape's constantly changing here when you're riding along. I do love these Scots pines, these trees. They're beautiful. Something elegant about Scots pines. Really beautiful. Right, time to fuel up, and then I'll get some lunch in Biggar. First fuel stop of the trip. I'm sure the first of many. All fueled up now and heading into, I'm just on the outskirts of Biggar, so I'm going to head into town and see if I can find somewhere nice to have some lunch. I don't recall having ever stopped in Biggar before. I've ridden through a couple of times, but I don't think I've ever stopped here before. But I think it's quite a thriving place because it's the biggest town in quite a a wide area is this. So I think it attracts people from all around. Just keeping my eye open for a cafe or something. This is such typical Scottish architecture here, going through here, these kind of really squat houses that run on either side of the street like this. I find it quite grim. Like, look at these ones on the right here. That's just so typically Scottish. I find it a bit grim actually. Oh, there's a nice cafe there, Aroma Cafe on the right. See if I can just get across there. So I think there's a parking space right outside the cafe there. If I can just slip the bike in. Oh yes, there's just enough room at the edge of that parking space there behind that car for me to slip in. Perfect. Scoot over here. Excellent. The Aroma Cafe it is for lunch. Hope it's nice. Well, back on the road again and refueled, both the bike and me. That was a lovely cafe, I have to say, in Biggar. So I'm now heading south again. Now I'm on the, what's this? This is the A702 towards Abington. I'm heading south where I'm going to cross over the motorway, the M74, and then climb up into the mountains to Wanlockhead. So I'm not that far now from Wanlockhead. Probably be there within the next sort of 20 minutes or so. I've just crossed over the motorway, the M74, which is the motorway that runs up to Glasgow, and as you can see I'm climbing up into the mountains here and heading towards the highest pub in Scotland, which is in Wanlockhead. Again, looks like we're climbing into the cloud again, so I might be disappearing into the cloud. We'll see. I'm loving this road. Not been up here before. It's glorious, isn't it? Really beautiful. We're climbing all the time here, just a nice gentle but steady climb as we head south. And so this must be Wanlockhead. Yes, it is. And here we are. this is the Wanlockhead Inn, the highest pub in Scotland. And there's nobody here. How amazing. There's nobody here, it's just me. Well, I'll see if it's open. Go in. I think I might celebrate with a little drink. Okay, here's the official footage. This is pub number 1 on my tour, the Wanlockhead Inn, which is the highest pub in Scotland. 1 down, 2 to go. It's a beautiful location, is this? Just pan the camera around and show you. Quite dramatic here. Even with all this low cloud. Wonderful, eh? Right, let's go and have a look inside. Well, hello, I'm off again, and I'm heading south again now. That's my Scotland bit done, so I'm heading south down towards Dumfries. But I've just had a wonderful visit to the Wanlockhead Inn. The landlord and landlady were in, there's nobody else in, so I just sat at the bar and chatted with them. I had a celebratory half a pint of Guinness, and turns out that they are bikers. They have biker events on at the inn. They're very keen travellers on their bikes, travel to Europe and what have you. So we just had a fantastic chat about motorcycles and motorcycle touring and what have you. I think I'm going to be having a look on their Facebook page to see what motorcycle events they have on over the summer and possibly come back and visit. Yes, that was wonderful. What a great first pub for my trip of this few days. Okay, onwards. Well, I've picked up the A76 south now, and I'm just running almost due south here because what I'm doing is I'm riding down towards Dumfries, and then from Dumfries I'm going to follow the Solway Firth east and cut across to Gretna Green. And from there I don't really want to drop down into Carlisle, so from there I'll probably cut across to Longtown, and from Longtown to Brampton, and then I'll just look for somewhere to stay for the night there. Oh, I've just switched my camera back on because that's the Solway Firth ahead of me there, and hopefully you can see on the horizon that's the Cumbrian Fells. So I'm looking across the water there, across the Firth into Cumbria, and you can see the northern Cumbria Fells of the Lake District there. So I'm not actually going to go into the Lake District on this trip because I'm going to cut further east down through the Yorkshire Dales. But that's a cracking view. Lovely.